What is happening, guys? Allie here to give you an update on all the big wins from this past week by our great Rumpier Sports host and members. Our guy Uncle Dunkle led the charge with over 40K in NFL winnings for week 16. Huge congrats to longtime RPS member D-Rock for his 24K NBA hit on Christmas. The Little Jordan Humphrey love was strong in the Discord on Monday and led to some huge wins on the Showdown Slates. Surprise, surprise, BigT had another big night, pulling in over 100K across sites on the Dolphins Saints Showdown Slate. This was just a few days after shipping another 150K in NBA. BigT wasn't the only one repping Rumpier Sports with a big hit. Shout out to Quick on to Cribs, who also took down 24K on Monday's NFL Showdown Slate. Meanwhile, Tway Rich hit for over 35K across sites, and Joseph Swartz shipped 215K on DraftKings. The wins just keep piling up in the RPS universe, which could only mean one thing. There is no better time to join than right now. We've recently teamed with SaberSim to offer a great deal on a combo subscription where you can access all of our content and their great optimizer and projection system for one low price. Head on over to rumpiersports.com to get the deal now and start running pure with us.
Welcome one, welcome all. It is the NFL spread and the old guys pod, the Wishbone, except only a few members. Half the supporting cast of the both shows is here. We have G Ryzen, a long time no see, G Ryzen. I don't think I have seen you since we celebrated March Madness together in the backyard of Big T's, throwing some cornhole. Actually, G Ryzen, I know it's probably been touched on in the other shows, but the best cornhole player that I've seen, and definitely the best at RPS. He is better than Big T. There's no doubt about it. And then we have Title here with me after a week's hiatus where he spent time with his family and did everything that he could back in the wonderful state of Wisconsin. We'll start with you, G Ryzen. How are you feeling? How was your Christmas? Is everything going good?
Yeah, can't complain. Christmas was good. Thank you. Glad to be here with you guys. Haven't seen either of your two smiley faces in a while, but yeah, I had a lot of fun when we were out there at Big T's for the March Madness. Yeah, I was in that cornhole there. Yeah, you guys got to see my best of me until I got about 20 beers in, and then I started to crash. And then the next day I was pretty much useless because my old ass can't take that kind of abuse to drink for like 16 hours, eating edible. I mean, I was in full game that day. Like I was in full mode. But yeah, I paid the price the next day. That's for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. You brought some Michigan flavors down here too as well. And it was great seeing you in Kentucky. What's better than that? But we also have Title here. How is Wisconsin? How is the beautiful state and city of Green Bay or Milwaukee or whatever, Kenosha? I don't even know where you live. What's going on?
Kenosha. It's going good. Close to Milwaukee. I got COVID though. I was on a bender, like a 5-day bender. So I mean, it was only a matter of time till I got it. It's again, I'm feeling fine. It's not doing any bad things to me. I do just see that SGA is scratched though, so that game's at 8 Central Time, about 53 minutes. So got a little NBA work to do too. I won 50 playing cash on all the sites like usual. So that is big news that I'm gonna have to monitor too. But excited to dive in, talk a little football. There's only so much we can talk about for football since everything changes by Friday, by Saturday. Eckler gets ruled out, then Justin Jackson. I mean, who knows who the plays are right now, but excited to talk about it. Nice seeing you, G Ryzen. I was very impressed that first day. I was like, wow, this guy can really party. But yeah, I realized that, you can't really take it the next day. And I don't know who could have if they put the substances as you did in your body for as long as you did.
Yeah, I mean, getting old sucks there, buddy. I was just thinking, man, when I was younger, I could go for 3-4 days straight doing the same thing. But, man, I can't do that anymore. But, I mean, you know what happens is, like, if you're just sitting around the house like I am now, drinking Modelo's as I got one right here, I'm sitting around. I could put down 8 or 9 beers and then, you're walking around the basement. You're thinking, I'm feeling pretty good. But, man, that day with you guys, I was having so much fun. We were playing cornhole. It was a nice day. You guys were playing basketball. I mean, lot of entertainment to keep you busy mentally. So, I mean, those Big T was saying like, dude, I'm picking up 2 Modelo bottles every 20 minutes. But I mean, they were going down good. It's a lot of fun hanging out. We're going to have to do that again. I mean, maybe one of us will win $1 million and then we'll have everybody over our place. How about that idea? That sounds a little better.
What better night? Tonight is the night of the 2.5K Millie Maker. And I know our very own Mangone has a few entries. Big T has a few entries. And I'm sure JSU and others. I mean, there's a good shot that there's a millionaire tonight. Hopefully this doesn't age terribly. But, if someone ships it, I'm sure that we will be on their way to their residence.
I mean, that's a hell of a call already. If that pans out, we're going to have to give Rubio some credit. Like, he literally called it at 8:09.
Hey, you gotta get the good mojo flowing. I mean, obviously the slate is super young, and no one is crushing it. No one is shitting the bed, it looks, just yet. But it's going to be a fun night, and we get to talk some football. I will say, so Title has COVID. Did you say you got COVID too?
No, I've never had COVID. Okay. I mean, Title looks pretty good for having COVID. He looks like he could go out and whoop Big T's ass in some basketball. So he looks fine to me.
It's my third time having COVID. So yeah, this time the first time definitely wasn't fun. Second time was less. This time I could easily go out and still beat Big T for sure.
Oh wow, that's quite the counter. You should get one of those things they give out at fast food restaurants. Once you get it 10 times, you get like a free ice cream or something like that. But
3 times you've had as much face. What are you, sucking every girl's face in the city over there? What are you doing over there, Title?
I still leave my house. That's pretty much all it takes. I still go and live my normal life. So
that's all you need to do. I mean, you guys are all young. I agree with the same thing. I go out, I go to bowling alleys, concerts, casinos. I do whatever.
Exactly.
Well, it comes in front of me that I deem fun. I'm not going to be too concerned. But everybody says this latest variant seems like a little silly cold, which
it is, at least in my opinion. But I mean, yeah, now, of course, I'm going to stay home and I'll do my part there. But when I'm healthy, yeah.
Now you only got to sit home 5 days. It used to be.
Yeah, I know.
Now you can sit home 5 days and feel good about it. Say, hey, they told me only 5, but.
That's nice. Good timing on that one for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to help talk about timing. That's going to help some of these guys in the NFL this weekend too, to get back on the field. Like Wentz was a prime example of that. I think Kelsey's going to be back too. So there was some dudes that weren't vaccinated that had longer sit out time, as I think now is going to be able to play. So, man, that product is terrible. Don't you guys think? I mean, the NFL product is horrible with all these dudes out. I mean, it just looks like a clutterfuck running around on the field. I don't even understand what they're doing. I mean, this Ian Book experiment the other night, I was thinking, how do they not bring in Blake Bortles? I mean, at least the dude has some sort of a concept of an NFL offense, but man, that's just tough to watch.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. I mean, as someone who thought Ian Book would do well in the Showdown slate, I regretted that instantly after I saw him drop back for the second time of the night when he threw that pick 6. So it's been annoying. Best balls were certainly tilted in favor of others and against others too. Like I had one that was live. I thought I had a really good team. Travis Kelce, Mike Williams, and others were ruled out, and I had my home stack with it. It was just like very frustrating, but you work, especially these season-long formats and stuff, you plan so long in advance, and then it just gets absolutely wrecked out. I know our boy Title had 8 in the semifinals there, and
nice.
I imagine COVID kind of just hindered the lineups completely there, right, Title?
My 5 highest exposed quarterbacks all got 0. Lamar, Sam Darnold. I'd have to go look, but literally, I didn't have quarterbacks on half my roster, so I was drawing dead before the week even started.
That's just, I mean.
I had 8. Like 8 is, I think, was one of the most too in that whole tournament. I mean, 8 out of 150 in that big one had to have been one of the most. But yeah, I got lucky to get there. You got to be lucky to win it this year. So
let me ask you guys a question. You guys are both 20 years younger, 25 years younger than me. So let me ask you: you guys think the season-long platforms are going to die off eventually, and it's going to be the quicker results? Do you guys still feel that your guys' younger generations are going to keep sticking with the whole season-long idea, or do you think that's going to dwindle over time?
I still think it's going to go on. Like the casuals that aren't nearly like us, like you go to work and they enjoy like checking it once in a while. It's really easy. That's pretty much how they invest. Like I couldn't imagine watching football right now with no money on the line. These people treat like their fantasy leagues, because they do have money on it. They treat it kind of like that. So I think some people are going to switch to best ball, but I still think a group of friends will have their home leagues for a while.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement. It's just like you build these small niche communities kind of like within your friend group where you haven't seen them in 5 years. It's like, let's say you went to high school, then different colleges and stuff, but then you kind of just bond over that fantasy football or hate each other, but depending on how the season goes. But you just kind of create that little bit of long lasting relationships. And I think that's one of the beauty of fantasy sports in general. I know people don't give a shit about the beauty of it on this pod and stuff, but it is one of those things where it definitely keeps friends together, communicating with each other and eventually just, beating the shit out of each other in fantasy sports is one of the best things you can do. But I will
agree with you. That is the truth, Rubio. You always keep that in mind, you guys, too, as you're younger. I mean, that has kept my group of friends from high school. I graduated in 1990. So I was probably before even you guys were born. But my point is, I still play with 12 guys from high school from 1991 in the class of 1990. So we're all buddies. We've all given each other shit over the years. It's a lot of fun. That's the most fun of it. And that's what I was going to get to. Like, hopefully that doesn't end, because that really has been a link to keeping, us 12 together over all these years. And it's been a lot of fun along the way.
That's the only reason I'm still in one left. Like, I used to do like 4. I used to run one like with really close buddies who I know I'll be with for like forever. So like, I'm like, I can't run this anymore. It's too much work. That's the only reason I'm in this other one though. 14 teams. I sometimes I play a guy that doesn't even play sometimes on accident, but yeah, because the group chat's there, we've been doing it since high school sometimes. So that's the same reason I'm in it too. It's nice catching up on people you probably otherwise wouldn't.
Yep, that's exactly it. I mean, it's one of the best things about it. And now we don't have a Thursday night game this week. So we have a huge 14 gamer this week on Sunday, and it should be one of the largest slates that we've had since week 1, week 2, and stuff like that. So it's actually good to get a bunch of football games in there. And we're going to start with quarterbacks. I know that we're going to do by position today, G Rison. I watched your guys' last pod, and I noticed you have something in the background there on the whiteboard. I want to be able to read that. So we'll lead off with you. We're going to go with the studs, and I'll kind of lead you off. We have the great matchup of Kansas City and Cincinnati against one another after Burrow's amazing performance last week. Is that somewhere where you're going to be starting with that game, with Burrow, Mahomes in terms of quarterback position, or are you going to be kind of going elsewhere?
I pretty much at this point would see myself going elsewhere. I mean, I respect that Kansas City defense, and it's going to be interesting in that game for me to see how Kansas City responds to a team like Cincinnati on the road. I know they've had this long winning streak. I think here Cincinnati too is going to be looking to compare themselves to a team they feel as if is a Super Bowl contender. And I think Cincinnati's got a lot of good offensive pieces, but I'm not going to be looking there. I think the first spot I'm going to look at quarterback is the team that's just been absolutely just giving up a ton of passing yards. We saw it last week with Burrow, and that would be Baltimore. So I'm going to be looking at Stafford of the Rams. I think he's going to have a really good spot. Baltimore has just been giving up a ton of passing yards. So I think he's a guy that would be at the top of my list. And then I also like Dak Prescott in that Arizona game too. So, Stafford for me, I think is a guy that I'm going to look at. I mean, we already know Akers is probably not going to play. So I think they're going to look to throw the ball that game. So Baltimore has just been absolutely terrible. So I think that's where I would start.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the Ravens secondary is just absolutely decimated. We saw it with who played on Sunday night? It was the Cowboys and Washington football team. There's another team just decimated with injuries and COVID-ridden secondary. And these teams are just able to throw all over them. It's like they're going against third stringers, fourth stringers. And these guys are, backups for a reason. You'd really start to see it. Jamar Chase, Burrow, Higgins, and even Tyler Boyd were able to get whatever they wanted. So I do like that shout with Matthew Stafford to start out, and that's definitely 7-1. I mean, it's something to very much consider. Are you in line with that title?
Yeah, I don't mind Matthew Stafford. I mean, I keep my quarterback pool pretty condensed, and he's in the mid-tier, kind of in the upper tier, 7-1. I like Herbert more personally at 6-8. I like Jalen Hurts a little more, I think, and the rushing upside a little more. So I don't think I get to Stafford. He's so easy to stack too, which always makes GPP appeal. I mean, Cooper Kupp, Van Jefferson, OBJ. So I definitely would never say no to him. Dak Prescott at 6-7 stands out. It's the only total above 50 in a dome. Dak's coming off a big game. He might be, I don't know, like Trey Lance is there too. Like it's so early. I don't even know who the cash quarterback is. If it's Dak, then yeah, I'm not going to play Dak in tournaments. But if it's not Dak, I think that makes a lot of sense. I've mentioned the Trey Lance thing. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to play. I don't know if it's confirmed out, but last time I looked at the slate yesterday, it was a plan of Trey Lance playing. He's below 5K, and Trey Lance is a very good runner. He has an arm. He has weapons in Debo and Kittle and upside that way. So I think Trey Lance makes a lot of sense. And then Josh Allen. If you guys listen to me, you know I'm a huge Josh Allen guy. I think he goes really overlooked on DraftKings because his price tag is all the way up at 8K. He gets Atlanta in a dome, or no, they're not in a dome. They're in Buffalo. So you have to monitor the weather come Sunday morning, but they need to win. They need to win these last 2 games to get in the playoffs. His rushing upside, Atlanta stinks. You can stack them easily. So Josh Allen up top, Dak Prescott in the mid tier, and Trey Lance in the bottom tier is how I'm ranking them.
G Rising, what are your thoughts on Lance too, under 5K, if he gets the start? I'm kind of with you, Title. I don't think Jimmy G plays this week.
I don't think Jimmy G plays either. And for me, I think I'm on. I thought I was on mute there, but for me, I thought I was pulling a donkey move there. But for me, at that cheap price with his rushing upside, you just need him to fall in the end zone once. I think the last game he played, he had 89 yards rushing. He didn't really throw for too much, but I mean, to me, yeah, it's like playing a Superman type running back that will throw once in a while. I mean, you know, you're pretty much just playing another running back. It's like consistent points. I think that's why Title was mentioning for the cash side. But you know, I do like Prescott. I do like Stafford, as you mentioned, and then too, I also like I like the Herbert call and I like the Hurts call. But I want to ask you guys about Josh Allen. I think if you play Josh Allen lately, I've been playing him naked. I don't like spending up my pay up for a Diggs where I could go to Cup or somebody else in that range of price to where I feel like the upside was better. And then sometimes I just maybe would pair him with Knox when I would, but it just seems like if you get a rushing upside touchdown out of Josh Allen, I mean, and he spreads the ball around, it really doesn't do you any good as far as upside to pair him. It's like there's no funnel offense there. He spreads it around so much, which is which is a good sign of a good quarterback. But I like to play him naked actually, but he's just he's just a 30-point machine. It seems like when he gets rolling. So, but we don't have Diggs as we had Diggs last year, which does scare me with him. That's what does freak me out. But yeah, I don't know about, anybody else. Like, you look down at some of these other guys. I mean, there's just so many guys you can't even consider playing. And there's literally, I'm with you, Title. I try to keep 2 or 3 quarterbacks, and I might play, 5 or 6 teams, but I don't like to spread my quarterback around.
Yeah, I mean, you won't find a better proponent of, playing naked quarterbacks than me. So I really kind of like that thought with Josh Allen. It is a little bit expensive, though, if I'm going to be spending up. And, I'd almost rather go Stafford and just pair him with Cup in that instance. For me, though, Trey Lance under 5K, running him naked just seems like a no-brainer. You almost don't really need to go with George Kittle or a Debo Samuel at all, and really just hope he gets it done on the ground. I mean, that's something that I'll probably be looking at, and I don't mind running it in tournaments either. But to kind of hammer down the point a little bit more with Josh Allen is that you'll do notice, Gabe Davis got a ton of the snaps last game he played. He's 5K. Cole Beasley's back from the COVID list. He's 4.9. It's not the most expensive options, if Emmanuel Sanders ends up missing again, which he was limited this week. He did play he got 4 targets last week. I don't think he's going to impact the offense as much as he would, because I think Gabe Davis kind of takes over that role as the number 3 wide receiver. I just think Gabe Davis is better than Emmanuel. But we saw it with Isaiah McKenzie last week that if you do pair Josh Allen correctly, you can get a 32-point performance from a wide receiver. So I will say, as much as I love running quarterback naked, if I'm spending 8K for one, I'd rather just go Lance and run him naked. But we'll move on to running backs now. And this is going to be a fun one. We got the king, the GOAT, the RB1 in this season's fantasy football title. I'll let you start off with him. Jonathan Taylor, how are you feeling about this week? Are you going to be spending up at running back?
Yeah, obviously Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's the only spend up that I'd consider. There's Eckler if he comes back, but if you're spending up, it's Jonathan Taylor. It's not going to be my first one in my lineups. If I can get him, I'll absolutely take him though. Outside of him though, there's good mid-tier running backs this week. I mean, David Montgomery, 6'5", that really stands out against a bad Giants team. Jeff Wilson, I don't know if I think he's going to be the guy back there. Ronald Jones, I think he's going to be the guy back there. Eckler situation, Justin Jackson. If Eckler misses again, Justin Jackson at 6K against Denver, very strong play. We saw what he did last week. There's Chase Edmonds at 5.7 with a lot of upside. This mid tier is absolutely loaded. Josh Jacobs 6.2 is the guy for Las Vegas. This mid tier is so good. I love Jonathan Taylor at 9K. Maybe I can get him, but I wouldn't mind going to the Ronald Jones, Jackson, Montgomery, Wilson, Edmonds, and just picking 3 of them or true RB1s with 2-3 down running back. I mean, they're 3 down backs, kind of. There's not too many 3 down backs in this league anymore, but with all the injuries and stuff going on, they're pretty close to it. So I kind of like that mid-tier range.
Yeah, I mean, that's been something that I've harped on all season. You kind of touched on it earlier this season. The mid-tier running back builds have been very tasty for the most part. Ryzen, is that something that you have been doing this year, or have you been spending up most weeks? What's your plan this week too?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been spending up at running back. I kind of started off the season that way. And then it just seemed like with this COVID shit, there was so many value running backs. It was like these middle of the road running backs were like the high end running backs after a while, the way the whole season's gone. But yeah, I pretty much agree with what you guys were saying. I might look at a guy like Rashad Penny for 6,900. He's on FanDuel for that price, but the Lions are just bottom of the league. We always are going to want to attack the Jets. So Ronald Jones, and then maybe even a Vaughn if you want to get really crazy, and then, play 2 guys in a tournament. I don't mind that at all because the Jets stink. I mean, they can't stop anybody on the ground. And I've seen a few builds this season where, that 2 running back build from the same team has actually done fairly well. So I'm not saying that is the ideal spot for that. I'm not really sure how big of a Keyshawn Vaughn fan I am, but always against the Jets. I think that's in play. Damian Harris, I think New England is going to absolutely just smash Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville has given up. The Patriots just got beat by the Bills in a game they needed to win. I think they're going to be a little bit upset. Belichick's going to have them focused, and he already knows he can just run it right down their throat. So I believe that Harris is probably going to get. I mean, he's a sure in for a touchdown. So I like him more on FanDuel than I do on DK, where I'm generally looking for guys that maybe are playing for behind. They're going to get some touches and out of the passing game. But yeah, there are so many options in the middle, like you said. But here we're recording this on a Wednesday, and I mean, the world could just flip upside down and change here in a few days. Like it's just been absolutely nuts so far this year. So, but yeah, we'll have to see. But I do like the guys you guys were mentioning. I like Montgomery too against the Giants. I'm looking at these teams that are just giving up already. I think there's a handful of teams if you watch enough football, that they pretty much mailed it in, and the only guys out there trying are the rookies and the guys that are trying to stay on the roster. These guys that are old veterans, they're already coming up with excuses why they want to be out or whatever else. So I'm attacking them teams that to me have mailed it in. Giants are one of them.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with Montgomery having 96 touches in the last 4 games. Like his touches are up there amongst the league leaders in the previous week. So I like that call quite a bit. There's a name that I don't know. I think you might have mentioned him title just because you do like Buffalo, but Singletary is getting almost 70% of the work in Buffalo now. And he was involved in the pass game quite a bit last week with 5 catches. He did have six catches just 3 weeks ago as well. He's someone that's been involved in the offense quite a bit. To kind of further add to this mid-tier just demolition of running backs that we can choose from, this 5.4K play. We also have Daryl Henderson going on IR. So we have Sony Michel at 5.8, who could potentially just become the absolute workhorse. He'll probably get almost all the snaps. I can't envision Cam Akers comes in and just takes like a 35% of the work, but he'll definitely kind of spell Sony Michel. So there's still a little bit of risk there, but we mentioned how bad Baltimore's defense looked, especially through the air. But even on the ground, Mixon had like 33 DK or something like that last week. So Sony Michel at 5.8 definitely makes a lot of sense. We have Elijah Mitchell kind of questionable this week. So kind of further adding, Jeff Wilson has looked very good the last 2 weeks. So just harping on this mid-range real quick too. You have your typical limited practices for both Broncos running backs. We do have Eckler back. He will be active this week. He is off the COVID list. So the days of Justin Jackson being locked in are long-lived. and amazing 35-point performance. So maybe that means Eckler won't get as much work. I mean, Eckler has always been a guy to spell during drives. Like, he doesn't have separate drives where he just takes all the work. So I wonder if that just hurts Eckler with how good Justin Jackson just played the previous week. But I do like what you said going against Jacksonville. This team, especially losing James Robinson, looking pretty bad last week. It could be a Damian Harris or a Rhamondre Stevenson week, depending on if Harris is fully active and stuff. They are expensive. I would imagine they're more FanDuel plays, but Damian Harris is fresh off a hat trick of touchdowns and a 100-yard performance. So I do like that. And I will say one last mention here with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He didn't practice today. That could lead to more work for Darrell Williams at 5'8" in this spot against Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been a part of some amazingly high-scoring games where both teams could get to 30. So I'd like that whole game environment, and should be nice. I'll kind of touch it back to you guys. If you have any other mentions, Title, do you have anyone else that you kind of looked at and haven't mentioned yet?
No, I'm good sitting in the mid tier again. I keep wide receivers where I have the widest pools because the range of outcomes is the largest. Even in 150, I make sure to keep running backs pretty tight.
I like that. And G-Rising, I'll lead it off with you here. We'll go to wide receivers. If you have anything to say about running backs, please do. But we'll start.
I was going to say one guy we missed, I think, is coming back is DeAndre Swift, supposed to be back for the Lions. I mean, Seattle looks like a team to me that's given up too. So I don't mind him. If he plays, they're going to give him the ball quite a bit. We've seen Josh Reynolds get some yards. This Lions offensive line is actually pretty good. So that'd be about the strength of their team. But other than that, I don't mind him. I think if Swift does play, you'll get him pretty low owned, but I think they're going to give him the ball quite a bit.
I didn't even see that at 6K. That's a good shout right there. I mean, he's been a guy who's gotten 24 or more, 22 or more in 6 starts this season at 6K. There's just another guy to add on to the mid tier. So it'll be hard pressed to spend up for Taylor with all these guys. I mean, it'll just make your build more unique. But speaking of studs, and we have stud wide receivers this week, and I know you're going to be interested in the one and only Cooper Kupp. Let's go 7K and up. We'll limit the conversation to this here, and then we'll circle back around. But 7K and up, who are your guys, G-Rising?
I mean, yeah, obviously Cooper Kupp. I mean, you got to play him. And 7K right on the nose is Jalen Waddle. I mean, this young kid is a stud. He might break the rookie reception record, I believe, this week. He'll probably break it in the first half. I think he needs 5 catches. I think it's 106, something like that he needs. But Waddle is a guy that just seems to be locked with Tua, so I really like him. And then, I mean, we do know Tennessee past defense. They're like dead last in points given up to wide receivers. AJ Brown, I think, is another good spot for 7,500 on FanDuel. I think he's a guy that you could look at. And then, like you mentioned, that Cincinnati Kansas City game could have some fireworks. I mean, there's all sorts of good receivers in there with T. Higgins. You got Chase, you got Tyreek. If you want to go that route. But yeah, for me, Kupp is a guy that I'd want to play, but Jalen Waddle is somebody that I think I want to have quite a bit of this week.
I like that. I've been a huge fan of Waddle ever since he was at Bama. Bruce, our boy Bruce, was actually the one that put me onto him. Said that this guy, whenever he touched the ball, could have a big play. And sure enough, I think the very first touch he had was a punt return touchdown at Bama. So there is no shortage of talent with him. Title, what are you looking at there in the 7K or up range on DK?
Always Cooper Kupp. Not much needs to be said about him. Tyreek Hill, I think he's in a really good bounce back spot against Cincinnati. Should see some points there. People are probably going to be a little scared from last game. We know his upside. No one's really going to play Diggs. I mean, that Allen and Diggs combination is very expensive for sure, but I'm going to monitor weather as always. But come Sunday in Buffalo, we've seen how bad it can get. But if the weather's fine against the Falcons, man, I 1% own Allen to Diggs stack, and we've seen them break multiple slates. I think that could get a little tasty. Last guy, Keenan Allen, 7.5. Looks like Mike Williams is going to miss again. He had a bad game again. This is not the same Keenan Allen as 4 years ago with Phillip Rivers, just 8 yards, 10 yards, just pepper from the slot. But if people aren't going to play Keenan Allen, I'm going to play him in tournaments. If he's going to be chalk, of course, I'm not going to play him in tournaments, but I think Keenan Allen makes sense. Always better DraftKings play with his PPR upside.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Should be Diggs will definitely be low owned. You look at these names right around him and stuff. And like you said, Allen to Diggs last year. I know, G-Rising, you kind of said that Diggs wasn't the same Diggs as last year, but man, we've seen Diggs pop off for 35 and Allen for even 35 as well. So this
the
could
upside's
be
there for sure.
I like that for tournaments quite a bit. I like your Waddle call, like 6-7 there, and then we'll kind of move over to mid range now. I mean, I think Kupp. I honestly think we just saw 200 yards from T. Higgins, 100 and something yards for Jamar Chase. Like Kupp could easily touch those numbers this week, and I think you could even do a double stack or a triple stack for these Rams wide receivers. But we'll move on to the mid tier now with G-Rise, or even the low tier. We'll just kind of blanket the rest of the position. Who are your top 3 guys? I'll make you choose 3 and then talk about them.
You're making me choose 3 in the mid tier here. Well, one, I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to say Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, this guy he's just been a stud. So just like you said, I mean, I like him for sure. Especially getting Goff back at Seattle. I think they're going to have to go to him quite a bit. So I definitely like that kid. And then, I mean, Hoop's probably going to raise his hand up near if he's listening, but I like Hunter Renfrow too. I think this is going to be a spot where they're going to be losing. I mean, it's just, he's a guy that they just look to constantly without, I'm not sure if Waller's going to be in there or not. I think he's still up in the air if he is or he isn't. If he isn't, I mean, it just seems like so many of the opportunities go to Renfrow. So he's a guy that I really like. And then another guy that I'm looking at maybe mid-tier, maybe a guy like Marquise Brown is another guy I might look at. He might be a forgotten guy, especially if Jackson's back. If Jackson's back, we know he likes to throw to him. I think that's going to be a situation where they're going to be losing. They're going to be down. And I mean, we know that Baltimore also has Andrews, which is, a pretty tough matchup. And who knows, maybe Brown gets loose. He's got the big play upside. So I think that game has potential to have a lot of points. Every Baltimore game recently has been flipping the scoreboard. So I don't know why this one would change. So to have a piece of that game, I think Brown would be an interesting piece.
That's actually a good shot. I mean, we know Marcus Brown for his upside. Title, what do you got? Top 3 names here, and then we'll move on and maybe touch on some values. We'll do some honorable mentions maybe, but what top 3 guys are the wide receiver there in the mid-range or low tier?
Well, the first guy that's just completely priced wrong is Antonio Brown on DraftKings. FanDuel priced him right. DraftKings, he's 6.1K. I mean, would you be shocked if he's the highest scoring receiver on the slate? Not at all. I mean, he's number 1 for Brady. He arguably was number 1 for Brady when he was healthy, and even Godwin and Evans were healthy. AB's back. 6-1 is a joke. He gets the Jets. I'm just going to play the man and move on. So he's number 1. I do like that Amon St. Brown call. I mean, that dude is a complete stud for sure. Seahawks are completely dust. I won't say him, but I really like that call. It has to be in the mid tier. It can just be. It can be anyone.
Any range now, yeah.
Josh Palmer at 3.6. I'm going to go right back to him, assuming Mike Williams is out. Herbert's a stud. You get someone at 3.6K when we have Cooper Kupp, when we have Jonathan Taylor, when we have spend up quarterbacks. Josh Palmer, I'm going right back to him. Had a ton last week. Going to do it again. The last guy I will mention, give me Emmanuel Sanders at 4.2. It's going to be low owned. I just like Josh Allen so much. Personally, I always, as you guys know, stack quarterbacks. I especially would stack an 8K quarterback since you really need the ceiling. Yes, if Josh Allen rushed 2 or 3 touchdowns, you don't need to stack, but I'm expecting some receiver to get a touchdown if I'm playing him. Emmanuel Sanders hasn't been great this year. There's no doubt about that. 4.2K, but Cole Beasley, he's not supposed to play, right? Gabe Davis, he's not supposed to play, right? Or am I not seeing this right?
They're in.
Yeah, they're supposed to play.
Oh, well, I don't have them projected. So throw out Emmanuel Sanders. Don't play them. Don't play him if everyone's healthy. I'm going to say, well, I don't know why he's not projected for me. Give me a little DJ Moore at 5.6. He's we know the talent is obviously there with DJ Moore. I'm expecting him to be trailing. Again, he's what's going to be 5% or lower. He's had double digits in his last 5 games, 16, 14, 14, 12, 10, 11, 11, 10, 10, 7 targets. Targets are there. Expect him to be trailing. I think should be fine, or the weather should be fine. What is it in? Is it in this? It's in a dome in New Orleans. Very, very low implied total, which is scary, but he should get all the work. So 5% own DJ Moore. I'll say him.
Well, it's tough not to eat the chalk on Antonio Brown. And I do like the Moore mention a lot because Darnold will start this week for Carolina. And Darnold really loved throwing to DJ Moore in the beginning of the season. And that's when we saw Moore have a ton of like ceiling games. And he's had double-digit targets in 4 straight appearances. So a lot can line up there. And I think this is, we talked about running backs being so stout. It's definitely up in the air whether you want to do 3 running backs or 3 wide receivers, because it's just 4 wide receivers, I should say, or 3 running backs. Like these positions feel stacked. It feels like another high-scoring week. I'll kind of round it out for honorable mentions from you two. Any honorable mentions now that you had a second chance to kind of look over the wide receiver position? G. Risen, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think Odell would be a guy too, another receiver that you could look at that's got big play upside against Baltimore. I mean, like I mentioned, Baltimore stinks. So he'd be a guy that I'd look at, and somebody to pair up with Dak. I mean, I hate flipping a coin, it seems like, with Lamb and Cooper, but I think either one of those two has a huge upside too, especially if Arizona is able to put up some points. That game could see a lot of points. And then one other guy that I think could just literally go off that I don't think anybody would even really think about is Tyler Lockett against the Lions. I mean, they're at home. I mean, the Lions are terrible. I mean, they do give up points, even though they do play hard. But I mean, if they're going to get some points, it's either going to be Penny or Lockett. So I mean, Lockett has 2 touchdown upside here in this game. I don't mind, somebody like that either, but nobody would literally click on Lockett with all those other guys priced around him. So I think that one would be an interesting one too.
Yeah, I like that. Title, how about you?
I'll say Michael Gallup. I do like this Dallas side. It's the only total above 50. Christian Kirk's the other one. I just think those receivers in that game, I mean, you're in a dome, 50 plus, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, 425 hammer. I mean, that's the tricky part. Like G. Ryden's saying, it could be Lamb, it could be Cooper, it could be Schultz, it could be Pollard. Like there's so many of them, but man, one of them are going to get there and win a GPP. So give me Michael Gallup sub 5K.
All right. And now let's move on to tight ends. We have a stud galore of tight ends this week, and Mark Andrews has slid himself into TE1 territory with 3 straight games of nearly 30 or more, 29.5 last week. I'm going to round up 30 or more per DK points. Huntley was throwing him the ball most of the time there, but Lamar still loves him, and he's just been a big body tight end. He's living up to his potential. We also have Kelsey back from the COVID list of 7-3, fresh off his best performance of the season. And then we have Kittle right behind him, who probably, if Lance starts, will be a very popular stacking option potentially. And we know Kittle's upside last week. He didn't really show it, but all 3 of these guys have 40 plus potential. I mean, 30 plus potential. We'll kind of just play it safe, but it's just something to look at. Are you going to be spending up at tight end this week, Title?
Probably not. I don't spend up too often at tight end. There's Jonathan Taylor, there's Cooper Kupp. There's guys that I want to spend up for at other positions. And you look down, I mean, Dallas Goedert 5-1. I know that's not spending down. That's right in the mid tier, but pretty much wide receiver 1. He should have had he should have had 2 touchdowns last week. He wide open on that one, and then holding call came back on the other one. But I still like Goddard. Then I'm looking down in the lower tier range though. I mean, if Waller's out, I'm good going right back to Foster Moreau. I've talked about him for multiple weeks saying he's actually good. He's actually athletic. Why would I jump off now, even though he hasn't been the best? Cole Kmet 3-4. He's free. He plays majority of the snaps. He gets the Giants who suck. Little leverage off of David Montgomery. I think that makes sense. Jared Cook 3-7. I like Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen's going to get some ownership. Palmer's going to get some ownership. Get some leverage there. Last guy I'll mention, Ricky Seals-Jones, 3.3K. Washington runs a tight end on almost every one tight end, if not 2 tight ends, on pretty much every snap. He's going to play a lot. He's 3-3. He can find the box. He's going to dominate. So I think these lower tight ends make a lot of sense this week, and someone's going to find the box.
That's just it. You're kind of hoping for the box there. G. Risen, are you going to be spending up at tight end, or are you going to be following Title's path with the Cole Kmets of the world?
It's easier on I know G-Rise is more FanDuel too. Like FanDuel, it's always easier to spend up.
Yeah, it is a little easier on there. I mean, because really at that point, you just got to find like a low priced receiver. And I mean, Ross St. Brown has been that dude for me. I'm like, he's been able to open up a lot of things for me so far, like in these last few weeks. And obviously they've been pricing him up, but I like the Cole Kmet call. He's a guy that I think could easily get in the end zone and keep up. I mean, Kelsey and Andrews are really the only 2 that you fear as if could put up like a 30 burger on you at the tight end position. But I think Kelsey is going to have his work cut out for him. But I mean, that game there to me, I mean, he does have a lot of upside. I just think Cincinnati is going to be looking at keeping him in check. And Andrews, I mean, he's the main guy there. I mean, it doesn't matter who in the hell the quarterback is. He's doing really well. But a guy you guys didn't mention, Gerald Everett, has been coming on a lot lately too for Seattle.
You love that. You love that game. You're going to game stack it. I already know.
Yeah, no, hell no. I'm not game stacking that. But I mean, that's just a guy too that's popping off. The Lions always give up a touchdown to a tight end, it seems. So I don't mind that at all. But Cole Kmet's a guy I think I really like. I like the Goddard call. Ricky Seals-Jones too, as you mentioned. Philadelphia is like dead last in giving up points to tight ends. So I don't mind that one either. So for me, I'm just trying to find me 5 catches, maybe 50 yards and a touchdown and move on. So if I can find that, I think there's a lot of these low end mid-tier guys that you can find that this week. So as you guys mentioned, a lot of opportunities in tight end.
Yeah, another name I'll throw out there. I do like the Ricky Seals-Jones, and kind of sticking with that game. Goddard, Washington football team, got absolutely torched both on the ground and through the air last week. And Dalton Schultz was a prime beneficiary where he got like 24 DK and like 2.5 quarters worth of play. Dallas Goedert has gotten 30 and 23 before last week, where they just dominate the Giants. This could be another spot where just Washington just chips a ton of points to the other team. And Goddard is a guy with a ton of upside that you could potentially get, the same DK output for 2K less than the actual studs there. I will say Waller being put on the COVID list makes me want to play Foster Moreau so bad. The Indianapolis Colts have been one of the worst teams guarding the tight end, and this will not go away. They just can't guard the tight end. Ertz last week put like 8 catches. It was actually one of the worst performances for a tight end against the Colts. Hunter Henry had 2 touchdowns, and you keep going back down the line. I put it in the Showdown article, and just the Colts are just one of the worst teams. And Foster Moreau looks like he's finding a little bit of a groove where he's had 4 for 67 last week, 7 for 65 the week before. I think his target share could be good, and for under 4K, he would be my value of choice at the tight end spot. But any other mentions here from you two? It can be in the running back, quarterback, wide receiver, anything that we haven't talked about yet because we're about to wrap up. We won't touch too much on defense, but anyone you kind of missed that you kind of want to circle back to? G. Risen, I'll start with you.
No, I think at this point, I think we pretty well covered it. I mean, like we mentioned, it's Wednesday. A lot could happen from now till then and change everything up. But, we got to mention, hopefully you guys have a good new year. Hopefully you guys bring in the new year safely and have some fun and pound all those Modelos you can and have a good time. So, that Saturday, here in Michigan, we got a big old game. We got a big game here coming up against Georgia. So yeah, look at the eyes rolling. You guys, hey, don't be mad. Don't be mad. Our team's in. I mean, the sun is shining on the dog's ass for once over here. So, hey, we're going to enjoy it. So either I'll be really, really happy on New Year's Eve or I'll just be happy.
I will say I can't stand Michigan, but I can't stand the SEC. So go UC and go Big Blue. Title, how about you? What are your plans this holiday weekend? And, anyone we missed that you kind of want to touch on?
No, I don't think we really missed anyone. Obviously, you got to be intact with the news. Stuff's going to pop up like every week and it's going to change things. But yeah, my plans, I had some plans. Now I have COVID, so I will not be having any plans. No, I mean, I'm 23. If it was like 2 years ago, I'd be very, very sad that I couldn't go out on New Year's and stuff. But
23 he says. Like he's old or something. 23 he says.
I know
the magic number.
No, but I mean, I'll just keep grinding NBA and stuff. And yeah, I'm really excited to watch the bowl games. I don't watch too much college football throughout the year. It comes on Saturdays. I'm MMA on Saturdays. That's my sport. But football is amazing. When you get in the playoffs, these guys are complete studs. You see a lot of them on Sundays. Going to be really good games for sure. I'm probably going to be rooting for Michigan. I don't think they're going to win personally.
Yeah, do it, Title. Do it.
I'm a Wisconsin. I mean, one of my buddies, Ben Bredesen, he started at Michigan for a while too. So that I have that to root for. Michigan's never there. SEC's always there. So it should be fun though. I hope everyone has happy New Year, safe New Year's. I'll be in my room though.
One last mention, since we do the college football playoff this week, and if you are listening to it before the games kick off, Bruce does the absolute best job. The Showdown Slates will be huge, even the Classic Slate as well. There's no better.
What's the prize pools? Are they out yet? I might dabble.
They should be 100K. I guarantee you they're out. Let's go ahead and stall and fill some time while I speak here, and I'll look at the Showdown Slates here. We have Cincy Bama with Oh, I mean, the Showdown, it's not the greatest. I won't lie. The Michigan Slate 80K prize pool for.
That's what I figured. They're always brutal.
Well, let's look at the classic here. You know, the playoff game here, the semifinal, and it's decent. It's decent. It's got 100K pool. So I mean, it's not
First?
too bad. No, 25K to first.
Yeah, I won't be. Probably won't be in the streets.
Oh man, you're missing out. You're missing out.
Title's baller. He don't want to. Them or that's pennies.
It might sound really bogus, but I don't know, man. After these NBA, every sport I do, I mean, MMA is now 100K up top too. Every sport I play is 100K minimum up top. So maybe I'll jump in because I'll be watching nothing to do. But
you're 100% jump in because MMA isn't until January 15th. Title. I just looked. You have no excuse.
Yeah, I don't. You're right, but I mean, what if I ship? I'd be like, wow, of course, the one contest I ship, it's not 6 figures up top. That's how my brain works. I'd be rattled.
Hey, if you're not happy with the Showdown slate, you guys can always put together a nice little single game parlay. I forgot you guys aren't.
Yeah, way to rub it in.
That's a great shout, G Ryzen. I live right next to Indiana. Well, fucking Indiana. I'm literally a bridge drive away, and those same game parlays. If you, especially on Underdog, you can correlate it, but on DraftKings, if you correlate it, your odds kind of get worse and worse. But you can easily put down $100 on a single game parlay and win 5K, 5 to 10K. It's amazing. It's definitely enlightened me a little bit, and I can't wait until Kentucky legalizes it. But have you had success with the same game parlays?
Yeah, I do them. I usually roll out, 3 or 4 of them for maybe $50, $25 a crack, and I'll get silly with them where I'm like plus 5,500 or plus 11,000, on my odds. But yeah, I like taking the, try to, correlate it with guys you think are going to score anytime touchdown. Sometimes I'll go for a guy to score 2 touchdowns. If I don't like his single touchdown prop, I'll go for him to score 2 touchdowns. And then you're getting it like 6-1. And then, you get that first touchdown in the first half. You're like, shit, now I only get him 1 more touchdown, So yeah, I do stuff like that. But, there's some good information out there now that this has been out, that this opportunity for a different kind of bet has been out now for a year. And you can find some good information where people have odds like, like the tight end prop odds literally are like under 70% of the time, 3% of the time, the tight end prop odds are go under. So, and across all these games. So, like you can kind of, you kind of find a little edge in certain spots and you just kind of stack them up sometimes. And like last week we had Ingram. I think Allie was on Ingram to get more than 1.5 catches the other night. I mean, it was just so low. But yeah, you can find a lot of different little edges in them single games. I love it.
That's awesome. I'm really glad. I can't wait until Kentucky legalizes it. And I'm sure Texas won't be that far behind Title. So hopefully soon. This has been the NFL Spread and the Wishbone Pod together. Uncle T, we missed you today. I hope you get better. JT, we'll see you next time. And, Holden's out with the hernia stuff. But, hey, I enjoyed this show. I enjoyed seeing you, G Rise, and I enjoyed seeing you, Title. Happy New Year to you, too. And Happy New Year to you all. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the show.